everybody, Jim here, welcome back to Mad Panic Gaming, where today I hope you're ready for plenty of runnin' and or gunnin', because we're about to take a look at some absolutely awesome arcade run-and guns, some of which had console ports, and some that never saw a release outside the hallowed halls of an arcade. Such is the case with our first game, Konami's Mystic Warriors from 1993. This game is set in a dystopian future when the evil Skull Enterprise has conquered America, and the last resistance is a band of 5 young ninja warriors fighting against the forces of darkness. At the start of the game, 1 to 4 players select their ninjas, and of the characters that aren't selected, one of them is kidnapped at random and must be rescued throughout the course of the game. Mystic Warriors is, as you can see, a side-scrolling run-and-gun, although you never actually utilize any guns, but instead make use of a variety of ninja throwing stars. And it has an awful lot in common with an earlier Konami arcade title, that being Sunset Riders. Both games play very similarly, including the ability to jump between upper and lower areas of the screen, and collecting power-ups to enable auto-fire in addition to strengthening your attack power. Obviously, ninjas are going to play a bit different from Cowboys, but the controls are the exact same. And of course, there are additional power-ups to collect that grant you some kick-ass ninja magic abilities, whether that be some temporary invulnerability or a screen-clearing magic attack. There are even some auto-scrolling segments, including skiing down the side of a mountain or floating down a river on a bamboo raft, as countless enemies come at you from all sides. And no run-and-gun would be complete without some epic boss battles, and there are plenty to enjoy in Mystic Warriors. Everything from flamethrower-wielding madmen and machine gun-mounted monster trucks, to giant robots and evil ninja masters, Mystic Warriors is non-stop, high-intensity gameplay, and it is extremely fun. More so with 2 players, but way more so with 4 players. In addition to that, this is an incredible looking game, very colorful with some big character sprites, detailed environments, and fun little Easter eggs here and there, such as a Sunset Riders movie playing at the drive-in theater. Very cool indeed. And I have to say that this is one of Konami's better soundtracks from this era. It is loaded with lots of energetic and catchy tunes to enjoy while you annihilate legions of enemies. So from top to bottom, this is a fantastic game that carries on Konami's legacy of giving us some great run-and-guns. And while it is a shame that it never got a console port at the time, it is now playable digitally on modern consoles as part of the Arcade Archives line. So if you've never played it before and you've enjoyed other Konami games in the genre, especially Sunset Riders, definitely play Mystic Warriors immediately, because it's awesome.
Metal Slug X!
Next up, since I featured the original Metal Slug in the last video, let's take a look at its epic sequel. But we're skipping right past Metal Slug 2 and going straight to the new and improved Metal Slug X from 1999, which you might as well call Super Metal Slug 2 Turbo, because it takes everything that was great about that game and just adds a whole bunch of content and tweaks the gameplay to make it much better, to the point that it makes vanilla Metal Slug 2 obsolete. Or at least I think so. X features remixed music, which was already awesome to begin with, a new announcer, more enemies, brand new enemies, more vehicles, more powerful weapons, more POWs to rescue, more power-ups and score bonuses, and a bunch of brand new weapons, including the Iron Lizard, the Enemy Chaser, the Drop Shot, and new armor-piercing rounds for the Metal Slug tank. So a bunch of new bells and whistles were added on top of what was already a fun and addictive game, because regardless of what version you're playing, Metal Slug is honestly always a ton of fun. In the case of X, if you'd already played the original Metal Slug, you'd feel right at home because the controls are the exact same. But it did what any good sequel should do. It took what already worked and cranked it up a notch. X has a ton more weapons and vehicles than the first game, including my personal favorite, the Harrier Jet, which allows you to deliver some sweet death from above. And whereas the first game pretty much gave you strictly human enemies to take on, here we get some more outlandish enemies such as genetically altered mutants, a legion of Egyptian mummies and their mummy dog companions. And we also get the introduction of the Mars people, octopus-like alien beings that would be a continued presence throughout the series. Of course, there are also legions of General Morden's soldiers, tanks, and planes to blast to bits, but it is worth noting that spoilers when they actually join forces with you at the end, in an effort to bring down the Mars people, ultimately culminating with an homage to the ending of Independence Day. That is pretty epic. So the gameplay is still solid as a rock, it's very fun, challenging, addictive, and it gets even better with some multiplayer. And again, the graphics are excellent. The Metal Slug series always had arguably the best sprite-based visuals of their day, and the soundtrack and sound design overall is also outstanding. This is a game I recommend to anyone who enjoys run and guns or just video games generally, and it's been released countless times, both physically and digitally. So whatever way you can, play Metal Slug X, the more than equal sequel. Next up, we have another Neo Geo classic, and the first of a couple of games that I think are a bit underappreciated in the annals of run and gun games, and that's 1997's Shock Troopers, which was published by SNK and developed by Saurus. And if you don't know who Saurus is, they were essentially a second-party developer for SNK, similar to ADK for example. And they worked on a ton of great Neo Geo games, including Art of Fighting 2, World Heroes 2, and the Neo Geo Pocket ports of Samurai Showdown and The Last Blade. So they definitely knew what they were doing. But Shock Troopers was one of the few games they developed that wasn't a sequel or a port of an already established series. It's a top-down run-and-gun, as you can see, and is reminiscent of similar games. Capcom's Mercs, for example, but Shock Troopers definitely has enough unique features to set itself apart from the crowd. For starters, you have 8 selectable characters to choose from, which is a lot for this type of game. Most only ever gave you 1 to 3 at most, and they're not just for show. Each character plays a bit differently with varying movement speed, levels of durability, and they each have their own unique explosive sub-weapons. Whether that be explosive arrows, a la Rambo, a heat-seeking rocket launcher, or some good old-fashioned grenades. And perhaps coolest of all, you can either play this game solo or select a team of 3 different characters that you can swap between on the fly. They all share the same health bar, but if you run out of explosives with one character, you can switch over to another who still has a full stock of theirs, which really comes in handy, especially during boss battles. At the start of the game, you have a choice of 3 different paths to choose from on your way to the final mission, and again, it's not just a change of scenery, as each path offers up different variations on the gameplay, including unique bosses, different enemies and stage hazards, and a variety of vehicles to commandeer. So when you factor in all of the playable characters and the varying paths to choose from, Shock Troopers offers up a lot more variety than pretty much any other game in the genre. All of that aside though, this is at its core just a very intense and challenging run and gun that gives you a ton of weapons and characters to have fun with, and I absolutely love it. The graphics and sound design are both really good too, all things considered. Perhaps not the best of 1997, but still not bad at all. But this one's all about the gameplay, which is 100% solid. This is another game that's had numerous ports, both digital and physical, including, as of right now, the Nintendo eShop and the PlayStation Network. So if it looks good to you, definitely don't overlook Shock Troopers, because it kicks some serious ass. Next up, I thought we could take a look at something a bit more obscure, and that's 1992's Wild West Cowboys of Mesa, which was developed and published by Konami. And if Mystic Warriors is similar to Sunset Riders, you might as well think of this game as the kid-friendly cartoon counterpart to it. This is a licensed game based on a fairly short-lived animated series that came out in that window of time where there were a ton of Ninja Turtle-inspired properties that basically existed just to sell toys and merch. In the same vein as Street Sharks, Stone Protectors, Biker Mites from Mars, stuff like that. Cowboys of Mesa, though, went a step further by having every character in the show be some kind of anthropomorphic animal with extremely punny names, including Marshall Moo Montana, the Colorado Kid, Buffalo Bull, Sheriff Terrible, and my personal favorite, the dastardly mayor Oscar Bologna. This actually makes a better video game than it ever did a cartoon though, since the only thing entertaining about that show was honestly the stupid names. Here though, we get 4 playable characters, each with their own unique weapon, and each possessing the ability to perform a charge attack by pressing the jump and fire buttons simultaneously. Again, this game plays a lot like Sunset Riders, including power-ups to grant you auto-fire and increase your attack strength, and the ability to jump between the upper and lower areas of most stages. What really sets this game apart from Sunset Riders though, and every other run and gun for that matter, is its great use of an otherwise very ridiculous license. For starters, every stage is super colorful and detailed and filled with wacky characters and set pieces, similar to the cartoon, and there are some especially awesome boss fights with a myriad of villains from the series. And it can't be overstated that this is a fantastic looking game. The character sprites are huge, there's a great variety of settings to play in, plenty of cutscenes to enjoy that are reminiscent of those in TMNT and The Simpsons games. And honestly, after playing this, you might be tempted to actually watch the show, which isn't nearly as entertaining as the game. And of course, as with any of their 90s arcade games, the soundtrack and overall sound design here is excellent. Strip all that away though, and you're still left with a really fun game that offers up a moderate challenge, some variations to the gameplay, including some auto-scrolling segments and epic boss fights, and up to 4-player co-op, which always makes any arcade action game just that much better. As far as I know, this one was and still is an arcade exclusive. So load up MAME or Final Burn if you want to give this one a try, because Wild West Cowboys of Mesa is awesome. And that's no bullshit. Last but certainly not least, since we started this video with ninjas, I thought we might as well end with ninjas. And one of my favorite top-down run and guns, and that is 1992's Ninja Commando. which was developed and published by ADK on all the Neo Geo platforms at the time. And you might ask why this is a favorite of mine, and that's best explained by just giving a brief synopsis of the plot. You play as one of 3 elite ninja commandos as they battle the sinister Mars Corporation, who now possesses a time machine, intending to use it to rewrite history so that they can at last dominate the world. So what you end up with is time-traveling ninjas battling cavemen, samurai warlords, and Egyptian mummies on their epic quest to save the past, present, and future. And if that doesn't get you hyped to play a video game, I honestly don't know what will. So, as I said, you choose one of 3 ninjas, each with their own unique attacks and abilities. And then it's a simple matter of annihilating any and everything that wanders on screen. This game can kill your thumbs though, as there's no auto fire, unless of course you're playing with some kind of turbo controller, because your shot becomes more powerful by repeatedly pressing the fire button. So if you want to stay at full power, your button mashing abilities had better be on point. You also have a dodge attack to get you out of harm's way, and a limited supply of super bombs, which in this case are a variety of ninja magic attacks. This is a pretty tough game, throwing lots of enemies, projectiles, and stage hazards at you all at once, and the boss battles can be especially brutal. But luckily, you can take a few hits before dying, and the game does occasionally throw some health replenishes your way, along with lots of score bonuses, and if you can manage to collect 3 scrolls without dying, you transform into your spirit animal for a brief period, making you completely invulnerable and causing massive damage to anything you come into contact with. And that's it in a nutshell. Just run to the top of the screen, blast away at everything that gets in your way, collect power-ups and point bonuses, and defeat a series of bosses. It couldn't be any simpler or more fun, which is why I absolutely love this game. The gameplay is enjoyable and action-packed from start to finish. The visuals are pretty damn good for 1992, with some big character sprites, elaborate bosses, detailed stages, and a rather ridiculous sense of humor as well. Throw in some excellent sound design, all things considered, and what you've got is the best damn game about time-traveling ninjas that I've ever played. Which admittedly is a pretty short list, but still, this game rules, and once again has had a number of physical and digital ports over the years. So don't delay, play Ninja Commando immediately, because it's oh so awesome. So there you go, everybody. Those are a bunch more arcade run and guns. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you had as much fun watching it as I did making it, because making it was a lot of fun. Got to play some really cool video games. Let me know down in the comments, what's your favorite arcade run and gun of all time? I'd certainly like to know. Always happy to hear from you. And it gives me an idea of maybe some games I could include in the next episode. So by all means, make your voices heard. And with that, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope to see you on the next one. Stay awesome. Goodbye.